So we got Persona 3 versus Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne. Any version. Can be these two versions. Original versions. Remasters. Can be this remastered version of Nocturne. Can be that remake if you want to. Praetor says Nocturne is my pick. Masterpiece of a game in every way. Replaying the remaster on hard was even more fun. So you're giving priority because of the difficulty. Original Persona 3 version is just as hard, let me tell you that. Shin's RPG says Nocturne for me because personally I hate those social link stuff. It's a waste of time. Okay. SMT III because of Nocturne because of its more mature story and straightforward story. Difficulty is a pain, but it's tolerable. Okay. Jordan Young, however, says Persona 3 barely edges Nocturne out there because of, again, impact. Persona started a trend that led to Persona going from spin-off to a flagship, so its importance cannot be overstated. SMT 3 was just a game. That's your argument? Persona 3 doesn't feature Dante from Devil May Cry, so Nocturne wins? Tyson says Persona 3 because I am not a fan of random battles, and I prefer story and character-driven games. It has more gameplay variety, not just battles, but I like the battle system and graphics more in Shin Megami Tensei 3. Okay. Kevin says, I fucking love Nocturne. It put SMT on the map for the West alongside bringing great classics like Digital Devil Saga, Raido Kusunoha, Strange Journey, etc. And the way it introduced the press turn system flipped the turn-based genre on its head. Smiling Dog says, I'll go for SMT 3 Nocturne because despite of how hard it could be, I still love it, the soundtrack is pretty good, and the roots are quite interesting to come back for a replay once again. Okay. Mystery Kid says, I prefer Persona 3. It was my first Persona game, the life sim aspect of the game was new at the time for me, and was interesting, and the battle system was okay. And I also stay away from SMT because they say it's hard. It is hard. But Persona 3 was just as hard. The original version at least. Aristos says, wow, that's easy. Persona 3 is so much better. I don't like Shin Megami Tensei 3 dungeons and the encounter rate. Also, Persona 3 has better story for my opinion, much better music and better graphics. And I also like it a bit better, the characters from the mystery that has Persona 3 and the plot twist. Oh, that plot twist, yeah. Kevin continues saying Persona 3 on top of having the better story that manages to talk about death and being grateful for the life you have in such a mature way, while also introducing the one more system paved its way for success that literally Hashino, the current series director, said that Persona 3 was Atlus's magnum opus at the time. It is. I agree with that. I agree with Hashino. Anthony says, I love Persona 3. It gives me the real-life experience of a student combined with fantasy elements. Balance between light and dark story. Great soundtrack, great graphics. Quite new, player-friendly. Couldn't agree more. Isra CC says, I pick Shin Megami Tensei 3. I really like the setting of the Persona games, but the social link stuff made me feel so fucking overwhelmed by the fact that I will be nearly impossible to 100% without a guide. Didn't like that feeling and it ruined my first playthrough. Okay. Alright, the poll is over. Obviously, Persona 3 won with 60%, Nocturne lost with 40%, though I get the feeling this only happened because Persona is simply the most popular series. I thought more Nocturne fans will show up to defend Nocturne, considering how big of a deal the game is to them, but they weren't watching this stream, apparently. Persona is always gonna win against anything, you know. But I really want to talk about both games and compare them because they are both a big deal to me. I picked Persona 3 too, of course, not because Persona is more popular. I actually prefer Shin Megami Tensei as a series way more over the Persona series. But in this particular case, I picked one of my favorite games of all time, which is Persona 3. So why do I feel like Persona 3 is the better game? Well, simply because in terms of story, I am like most of you, maybe not most of you, like a lot of you, like I prefer story-driven and character-driven RPGs than a game with multiple routes and endings that is Nocturne. There's no character development in there. You have no party members except the monsters, the demons, and they don't talk. So the story in Nocturne is killer. I fucking love it, you know, but I'm more leaning towards a game where I can get a lot of development and a lot of different points of view and perspectives and stuff like that. And what can I say? It's the school simulation I don't give a shit about. But the social simulation, I like that. I like that in video games, not in all of them. I'm glad Nocturne doesn't have that, actually. But I like that. You know, I kind of like the fact that it's an addicting gameplay mechanic, you know, to answer things, you know, to make decisions and stuff like that, and to choose your waifu, you know. I'm not gonna lie, I love that mechanic. But I'm glad that mechanic wasn't in Nocturne because it takes all of the seriousness away. So I think, I'll be completely honest with you guys, you know, I like my story-driven and character-driven RPGs in video games, but if there was an anime series, there is an anime series, or I think it's a movie based on Persona 3, but if there wasn't like an anime show, I will prefer Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne because I like the story more. But I give preference to that, you know, Persona 3. So in terms of gameplay, this is overly addicting. Someone was saying there's no random encounters. That's also a big deal to me. The encounter rate in Nocturne is fucked up. It's fucked up, you know, and that's one of the game's biggest flaws. The encounter rate. You get into battle so often, you know, especially in the original version. In the remaster is the same, but there's a merciful mode where you can considerably reduce the encounter rate, which makes it more playable. But my problem is that the dungeons in Shin Megami Tensei 3 are insane. That almost ruined my playthrough of it. I beat the game and I love it. I'm not sure if I'll ever go back to it. I probably will because the game's so freaking awesome, you know. But it's just having to deal with those labyrinths, those dead ends, those puzzles, man, those rooms and locked doors and whatever, you know. I hated that. Persona 3 doesn't have that. Simple as that. Enough said. You know, music, I prefer the one in Nocturne. I think it's, oh my god, I think it's Shoji Megura's best soundtrack. Sure, I love the soundtrack in Persona 3, 4, and 5, but it's just god tier in 3. Problem is, it's so metal. There's more metal, maybe more jazz and blues as well in there, you know, here and there, you know, but it's more metal, more rock, more hard rock, while Persona is more rap, hip-hop, and nothing against those genres, but I prefer rock music, you know me. So, I love the soundtrack in Persona 3, but Nocturne wins for me. And in terms of graphics, they are on the same level, you know, they came around the same time. I think Nocturne is like 2 years before Persona 3. They look beautiful in both games. I really like them. I don't think I can choose which type of graphics I like more, but I think the waifus are better in Persona 3. Finally, the battle system is amazing in both games. The original Persona 3 kind of sucks because you can't control your party members, but you can in the PSP version, you can in the remake, and it's fucking amazing in the remake. So this is where I have a problem. This is where I think the comparison is unfair. If I'm only comparing the original PlayStation 2 versions, I think I prefer the battle system in here because you can control all 4 of your party members, and it has the press turn system, which is also kind of here as well. It's just different, but I prefer this. I prefer the battle system here. However, this versus the battle system in the remake, I think it's a tie. I can't decide. I just love the press turn system in Nocturne. I love it. But I guess I'm sticking with Persona 3 simply because it's just nowhere near as hard and grindy as Nocturne. That's my only argument because both battle systems are fucking fantastic. Anyway, so overall, Persona 3 wins. I wouldn't say by a landslide, but it wins a bit more. It's someone was saying that the game is fucking special to them. It's so fucking special to me too. So I love it. I love Aigis. I love everything about her. I love the story and characters. I love the personality of the game. To me, this is the best Persona game ever made. So what else can I say? Nocturne, respect, huge fan, but I'm sticking with Persona 3. That's it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and share this Versus episode with your friends. See you next time.